Morning, everybody. Welcome back to Evidence Through Motion for our second week of live streams. Hope everybody is doing well this morning. Good morning, Janet. Me too, Jeffrey. Haven't got one in 4 days. Oh, all the notifications. Blue Amaryllis, happy Sunday. Jeffrey, hope you all enjoyed that extra hour of sleep. And to all the parents who I know that it didn't exist for. Oh, yes, I loved it. Happy Roll Your Clock Back Day. Yes, welcome to it not being completely dark at 6 a.m. However, now it's going to get dark at 5:30 at night. So, you trade one problem for another. Bit kind of a situation. All right, who else is here? Snipe Hunter, good morning. Evidence Through Motion can't stick around, but wanted to wish you well. We'll watch later. Good to see you. Oh, YouTube skipped the music. Just heard the last note. Well, that sucks. Hey, Goosebump. How are you? All right. So on today's live, since I haven't released a video, I bought a nice camera, not this one that I'll be filming these videos with. So heaven help us and share this out so everybody can see my learning curve. There's the difference between the two channels. This one, not dramatic. This one is community and all community. Yeah, I love my community over on Squid Pro Quo. However, this is all about learning, living, and being safe while we all get older, because I am no spring chicken. I am not old by any means, so don't come at me in the comments. I'm 40 years old. However, I don't feel the same as I did when I was 20, and I don't feel the same as I did when I was 30. And I'm definitely not a teenager anymore. And as we get older, some things need to change. And I have a lot of people that I've met through YouTube who have chronic pain issues, who are a little bit older, who have fears of falling. And this is where I get to use my education to help not only me, but all of you as well. Little story yesterday. You don't have to be considered elderly to be at risk for falls. Guess who almost fell in the shower yesterday? I was stepping into the tub, it was wet, and I slid, and now I have a big ass bruise on my shin. So you do not have to be considered old in order to be at risk for falls. And chronic pain, chronic issues in general put you at risk for falling. So basically what I wanted to do today was, after we release that first video, our next block of videos is fall prevention. However, fall prevention is a big area. It's definitely not a 1-hour live stream, and it's definitely not a 15-minute video. So I put a couple polls up on the channel yesterday. I wanted to see what you guys wanted to see next, because falls are a massive problem. I've been a klutz my whole life. Yeah, I've definitely been a klutz my whole life. And even worse when I got older, and then when I got diagnosed with Chiari, maybe we figured out why I was a klutz, that it wasn't necessarily all my fault. Yeah, things are definitely changing. So today I kind of wanted to work with you guys on what you wanted to see next, because I have a whole range of topics to cover, and we will get to them eventually, but I know some are more in demand than others. Also, let me go to the community post. Let's actually view my channel. I'm still getting used to managing 2 different accounts, so it's a hard thing. I put 2 polls up yesterday, and I said one of them was, let me know what you want to see both, but both will be covered. Benefits of mobility for aging in place, or cognition and fall prevention. I appreciate everybody who voted. It looks like benefits of mobility and aging in place is first, and then we'll get to cognition and fall prevention later. Both will be seen, but some are more important to certain people than others and in demand. Good morning, lady. It's the lurker from South Dakota. Good morning, lurker from South Dakota. And I look like I have a little more energy. It is all caffeine this morning. Evidence immersion. Sheldon would recommend you get adhesive ducts to help prevent that. Dislocated her shoulder. Season 3, episode 8, the adhesive duct deficiency. Your falls are an inner ear problem. Are you being seen for that, or are you just kind of grinning and bearing it? Because that is something that is very important. And for those of you who might be watching this who have never seen me before, I am Heather, also known as Squid Pro Quo over on my main channel. I am a occupational therapy assistant and a corrective exercise specialist. And my whole goal is to help people move better, live safer, and prevent chronic injury or an injury that could become a chronic problem. Hey, Gareth. Hands, osteo versus rheumatoid arthritis, trigger finger versus I can never say that word, or combination thereof. And Mama Squid, how are you? No, all the docs are aware. Are you being treated by a vestibular physical therapist? I would recommend asking your doctor, nurse practitioner, whoever your primary care person is, for a vestibular physical therapy. Not just physical therapy, because not every PT or OT is a vestibular therapist, but vestibular therapists are most likely PTs and some occupational therapists, because they can see you whatever they decide necessary and do exercises with you to help that. But before we get started with that, here is my disclaimer. This content is for educational and informational purposes only. I am an OTA, but I am not your OTA. Information shared here is for home safety and general wellness information only. It's not a substitute for personalized medical or therapeutic advice. And always consult your doctor or your therapist if you are seeing them prior to starting any new exercise routine and or implementing anything you see on the channel. Good morning, Pickled Tink. You are not late at all. We are just talking about what this channel is about and just giving my disclaimer. I give my disclaimer because, one, I am a certified through the National Board of Occupational Therapy, and I have laws to follow. And two, I don't want people to say what I think, and we go based on research here. But once again, science changes. And just because I might give you the latest and greatest, it doesn't mean that it's always 100% necessarily right for you. So take what you see here, and you can either use it as a guide when you go to your doctor, when you go to your therapist and say, hey, I saw this, I heard about this. What do y'all think? For you. This is just generalized for everybody. I'm waiting for a pair of appointments with ENT and audiology, pulsating tinnitus, POTS, other, who knows. Oh, and that's the who knows. That's the, it could be this, it could be that, it could be this, because the entire body is connected. There is a reason that toddler song, the foot bone's connected to the shin bone. Your body is covered with a layer of fascia that literally connects everything to everything. That is why sometimes when we get shoulder pain, it's not my shoulder causing the problem, it's my elbow. But my shoulder is where the pain is referred to. And it's not always what you know. You know that I told you I could be your poster child for fall prevention. Well, I really, really hope that we can all be poster childs for fall prevention and not poster children for falls, because there is a difference. This week's video, like I said, will be sitting. Does sitting cause pain? It will be using studies and connecting both the video here with the ergonomics video from my Squid Pro Quo channel. And I am currently home alone with the little. So we need a mama break. You dumped water on your shirt. Hold on. We're going to do a quick change of wardrobe here. It's okay. Thank you for getting a new shirt. Angel, my mama mode must be engaged because she got a new shirt. We're growing up. My little girl got a new shirt. Allowed me to help her take her nightgown shirt off. However, ran away before I could put her new shirt back on. So I currently have a topless wonder running around the house. Um, watching a little late. Oh, it's no problem. And I know Sundays are a church day for most people. So this is just kind of a no pressure stream. Generally speaking, we will be discussing the video from the week before. So next Sunday, we'll be discussing this week's video. However, in these first couple, it's getting to know y'all getting to know me, not from my sassy side over at Squid, because Squid gets a little out of pocket sometimes and gets a little sassy and gets a little sailor mouth. Over here, this is what I went to college for. This is my heart and soul. So it's getting to know me from my professional side and my OT side, and not so much my sassy say whatever I want with no consequence side over there. She's the poster child for a wet water shirt prevention. Yeah. Oh, and my son would go outside and take all his clothes off. Well, she sometimes does, and that's why, like, parents, I don't know if y'all did this like when your kids were little, but I'm having to push her a little bit in the sense of I know she can do things. She just won't do things because she wants me, mostly her father, because she's a daddy's girl, to do things for her. And she'll put up a fight. That's how I got my little concussion last week, was because she put up a fight when it came to getting undressed and getting jammies on. She didn't want to do it. She wanted me to do it for her. And there was a little bit of a disconnect there. So I'm having to push her. And it's like, it hurts my mama heart. But at the same time, it's like, I'm trying to use my OT brain and be like, my job as a parent is not to do things for her. It's to teach her how to do things herself. And at 3 years old, age appropriate is being able to undress and change into jammies and like start the process of learning how to get dressed on your own. So, and the fact that sometimes all of a sudden she'll come in a room with no pants on means I know she knows how to do it. She just won't. Has anybody else ever had that, or is that just a me thing? So I'm writing this stuff down and I'm taking what I put in these polls to heart. It's a thing that, like, this is the community. I might have the knowledge and I might put out videos, but y'all are like, hey, I want to see this, or hey, I have a question about this. And I have all these ideas, but it's like, what'll happen first? So mobility for aging in place over cognition, although cognition is very important because cognition is key to safety. And this might not be for anybody actually watching the channel, but this might be for an aging parent or someone you know that had a brain injury or a stroke or anything along those lines of, like, cognition is a very important piece to safety in the house. It's where OT, my belief that OT separates itself from PT, and any PT in the chat or in the comment section, don't get mad at me. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I always joked with my patients that PT would teach you how to walk. OT will teach you what to do when you get there. And safety is not only big with fall prevention, but just aging in place in general, because think about how many places that in the house that are so dangerous. The bathroom, fall prevention in the bathroom is huge. Not only just because it's hard surfaces, but there's also water. Kitchen, lots of hard surfaces. So being safe is not only about preventing falls in general, but just overall home safety. Remembering to turn off the water when you're done with it. You'd be surprised at how many people turn on the oven and forget it, or turn on the stove and forget it, and then go set something on the stove and start a fire, or burn themselves. And then we have a whole nother set of things that this goes to. So to me, cognition is super important, but generally to someone who is mostly cognitively intact, it's not the first thing. So that's poll number one. If y'all haven't voted, please go over to my community page, engage, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. Also, leave comments if y'all have any ideas on what you want to see or what you think might be helpful. This is a community. This is not me preaching to you. This is friendly advice from someone you know and trust. It's not me preaching at you. And yeah, we're going to go through some science and some stuff like that, but I'm also not here to lecture you. Parenting is challenging and wonderful. My philosophy offers simple choices. Do you want to put on a purple shirt or a red shirt? Lots of patience, time, repetition. It all works out. And that's the thing. Like today she went and got a shirt, and the top drawers of her dresser are things like hair clips, stuff that is a mom or dad thing. The bottom drawers where she can reach are things like, shirts, pants, socks, stuff that she can get to. So I give her the options to pick out her own stuff. Most of the time when I say, hey, go pick out your clothes, she'll pick me out something. A lot of times she's just stubborn like her dad. And like her mom too. I can't really, benign positional vertigo versus cervical stenosis or other reasons for pinched nerve in the neck, pillow. Yeah, medicine is the reason they call it practicing medicine. No two bodies are the same. Two people can have the exact same, say POTS, for example, or EDS is a good one. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I pronounced that wrong. I call it EDS. A good friend of mine and occupational therapist has it. So I worked with her and saw her struggles at work. And she'll watch this. So I love you. It's one of those situations where two people can be diagnosed with EDS and they will have completely different but similar symptoms. Which makes it really, really hard for doctors and nurses and anybody to diagnose and treat because no two people are alike. However, if you are being gaslit or you feel like you're being gaslit by your medical providers, trust your gut. So I need my dog to stop sitting on my oxygen hose when I need to walk down the hall. Nothing like have your head jerked back because she's on the hose. Yeah, that's a big one because and I love pets, but sometimes pets can be the biggest reason for falls, because they don't know what they're doing. I was told to smoke pot for pain. All I did was throw up. I have never smoked. I don't know. I was sitting out at a bar with my dad one night, just having a drink, and we got into a conversation about something. And I literally looked at my dad and was like, am I the only person on the planet who's never smoked? He looked at me, and the people sitting like next to us all looked at me and said yes at the same time. It was like, apparently, I need to do a segment on pets. Yes. And I will add that. So I have one of my ideas for a video is small changes that you can make in your house that don't cost any money. We'll do some stuff on adaptive equipment and things like that, but I want to do stuff on things that you can do at home to just prevent falls. And putting your dog bowls like up, or cat bowls or anything up on not a table, but like a stool. It's not only easier for you to reach down and get them, leaves less of a mess on the floor, which also stepping on things, dog food, they spill water, things like that. So it's, so far my dogs are the reason for my falls. Yeah, pets are lovely and good for the mental health most of the time. However, they can increase fall risk getting under your feet when they run around you and not having the awareness of where their bodies are in space and that they could topple you over. The oxygen hose there's two kinds of people I've noticed with oxygen when I've gone into houses with people. They either have a tank and they have a really long oxygen cord, think about it as like a 1980s, 1990s phone cord that it's attached to the wall and you just drag it all over the house. Um, or they've they end up having to yank their whole tank with them, which is safer as far as the oxygen hose not getting stuck on places and animals not running into it. But now you're dragging this big ass tank around the house with you. So there's like not everything has a perfect solution. Someone asked me a question the other day through a DM about something, and they sent me a picture, and it was like, well, here's the thing. Like, sometimes when it comes to asking questions and getting advice and changing things, when I say it's individualized, it truly is individualized, because I could give you a solution that would solve the main problem, but now it might create new ones. So think about modifying your environment as the same thing as like taking a medication. In this, you have to weigh the costs and the side effects with how much it helps you. So in general, if I tell someone if they have a hard time reaching down to get pots and pans out of a cabinet, well, leave the pan you use the most, wash it and put it back on the counter. That way it's always there. However, if you have pets, now you have cats are the worst at this, getting on counters and getting into things. And now you have pet hair in your pan. So it fixes one problem of you not reaching down and falling, but now it might create a hygiene problem with cat hair in your food. So like, you have to take the benefits with the costs and figure out what exactly works for you. And that's why I say this is a community. I can give you guidance, but I can't give you an exact answer that will work for you 100% of the time. So, good morning, O2 concentrator with a 50-foot hose. Oh yes. So that's based on, is it in your bedroom and you can have the 50-foot hose to go anywhere in your house, or is it in the living room? I don't know what your house looks like in the setup. However, the dog, is it following you around the house? And I don't know if your dog's a boy or a girl, so I just refer to it as it. If it follows you around the house and does it that way, or jumps on it, or just thinks it's a toy and plays with it. Grandfathers both died from problems strongly affected by smoking, so I mindset against it early. And I am a former smoker. So when I talk about like smoking or anything like that, I come from the perspective of a former smoker who tried really hard to quit cold turkey. So it's my dog will not eat out of a bowl. He's a rescue, so I'm not sure of his issues, but he will only eat off the floor. Ooh, and this is the thing, like, not everything is a one size fits all. And that's where making sure that y'all, whatever I say, make sure that it's right for you before you implement it and you talk to your people. Not only does that keep me in line with the YouTube gods, giving that disclaimer and making sure that I'm abiding by terms of service, but it's also my personal ethics. And just because I tell you something doesn't mean it's going to be 100% right for you. What works for Jeffrey might not work for Roy. It's the wonderful thing about being a human and having a personality and a mind of our own. No two people are alike. My dad had a long hose, and you had to be careful just pulling your chair back after dinner to make sure you didn't slide the chair out of the hose. He also tended to get it kinked. Yeah, it's like, it helps because you don't have to drag the thing around the house, the tank, but at the same time, it's like, yeah. Some people I've seen have those like Inogens. However, those seem to be very, very helpful to people. However, even those, if you can get your insurance to pay for it, kind of have a problem. Battery. If you're doing something where you're going to be out and about for too long, you need to make sure you have backup battery systems because it lasts for, I think the last time I worked with somebody with them was in 2020 and it lasted about an hour. So batteries might be better now, but like everything has drawbacks. I can tell you from experience that building a complete wheelchair accessible house costs $100K or more than a normal house in 2020. Yeah, everything is and that's where it was like, we're going to try to work on things that are free. Just like in my ergonomics video, when I said I've even used my child's stool. Nothing has to be specifically for fall prevention. You can take normal household items and make them. Getting off the couch, if you have too low of a couch, you can put another pillow underneath your butt. Is it made for that? No. But in a pinch, when you need a higher surface to get off of, and you can't afford you have to work on either getting stronger, or you have to get a lift chair or something. And lift chairs aren't cheap either. And I have a problem with them as a therapist practitioner because it makes you weak. But that's a whole nother. Yeah. Inogens are great if you can get by on 3 liters. Unfortunately, I need much more than that for exertion. Yeah, and that's the thing too. That's why everything has its drawbacks. And I might mention something that might be helpful for somebody, and then like Dragon Lady is like, but I can't do that. Like, and that's totally fair. And that's why we have these discussions on Sundays, and not so much a one size fits all. I told you this is what's set in stone. You have to do it my way or the highway. When I was working in clinic, I found myself as a very meet the person where they are. You learn things in college that are what, the gold standard is, but that doesn't work for everybody. And some things are great, but nobody has the time to go shopping, or nobody has family members to help them with everything they need to do. So we have to find solutions that work for everybody. So for low furniture, they also make risers that can add height. Just be sure the legs will sit flat in the lip of the risers. That's true. But something like a couch. So it's medical device classified lift chairs aren't cheap. Yeah, and I also have a love-hate relationship with them because yes, I believe they can help people, but at the same time, my OT brain thinks that sometimes they can make people lazy because they make you weaker. And unfortunately, you can't lift yourself out of a toilet or off the toilet. So, yeah, it's kind of it's kind of a mixed bag. Hey, Jackie Grammy. Had a left side stroke in late 2024, rehab for a month, came home with limited left side, taught myself how to use a cane in the bathroom because a walker doesn't fit. I use a wheelchair in the larger rooms. Yeah, and that's the other thing too is walkers are great for when they're needed, but they don't always fit places. So, and that's a good way to do it. At least you can use a cane. My assumption, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that your bathroom's small enough that you can hold on to the cane with one hand and the wall with the other. I'm not a huge fan of wall walking, generally speaking, because a lot of people do it where they shouldn't. But wall walking with one hand on a cane and one hand on the wall, that 3 points of contact. So it's, yeah. And that's kind of the way my bathroom is too, is I don't think that, or this bathroom, the littlest bathroom. I say my bathroom because it's the one closest to the office. So when I'm working during the day, I use that one instead of walking all the way around the house to use the master bathroom. As a former respiratory therapist, I can tell you we strongly recommend that our patients stay with a 25 extension or less if possible, because the longer the tubing, the higher the probability. And I'm assuming there's more there. Wall walking works to an extent in certain instances, like when you have a cane with one hand and you have the wall with the other. But I have had patients who literally have told me that they only wall walk in their house. and they will never use a device, not because it doesn't fit, just because they don't want to. So, and I've seen people, walls are great. However, they're not perfect because you can't get anything. If like when you have to walk from the wall to the chair, like there's just certain things that wall walking can't get you. And then these are the same people that will grin, bear it, and just try to make it to from the wall to wherever they're going with no assistive device at all. So yeah, small tight rooms are doable. Walls, no furniture. And I've actually had to teach people how to wall walk because they didn't have any other option in the place that they lived. However, that being said, it's kind of my last resort. Yeah, especially a bariatric walker doesn't always fit in tight spaces. Yes. That's you. Ninja Puppy, are you going to scare me? There's always one person who has a story that makes my brain cringe. Like, Ninja Puppy, is that going to be you? Yeah, probably a fall of kinks and a lot of other problems. Pickle Tank, have you ever done and I know this is a hard thing, but have people have 2 concentrators? I know that insurance is weird, and I'm not actually sure exactly how that works. That was not my area of expertise by any means. I just worked with people who said this is what they have, and we have to kind of figure out how it works. Also, Dragon Lady, when you use the concentrator or when you walk, when you are within like 10 to 15 feet of your concentrator, do you have your tubing just on the floor? Or do you take it and like, I don't know if you use a walker, but I've known people that have like a little hook, kind of like this, that put something like this on their walker, and they take their tubing and their extra and basically wrap it up kind of like a hose, a garden hose, so that they don't trip over it. Like something as simple as like this one came with my shelf, but Amazon can probably provide hooks like that. Even the dollar store has little S hooks that might go on a walker or something like that. So insurance companies work hard to deny rather than help. Yes, and that is what I have noticed over the years. So I have noticed that I hate insurance. And when I became a licensed insurance agent, when I first moved to Georgia, I realized that if I didn't hate insurance before, when I was working in a hospital, I did now. So, some patients have 2 concentrators, but usually they would pay for one themselves. I assumed that insurance wouldn't pay for the second one. However, I ask before I just assume that I know that I think I'm right. I have 2 concentrators that I hook together with a Y connector and pull about 20. Interesting. And that's the thing. People find things that make things work, and always that's why I meet people where they are. It's because what is ideal and what I have met some therapists, and no offense to these therapists at all, because you have to do what you have to do. However, I have met these therapists that are like an all or nothing, like this is the gold standard and this is the way it needs to be done. I am not everybody can afford that. That's not feasible for everybody. Fixing it to my standard would cause more problems than it would fix. So as much as sometimes I'm like cringy with recommendations, it's still like I'm still like it's not what I would do, but for your specific situation, it's a means to an end, and it works for you. But once again, what works for you and what I would do if I was in your house and making recommendations would probably not be the same recommendations that I would make for, the next person, because they would try to do what you would do. and it would go completely no. Hey, Lori, a stroller bag fits great on a walker. Yeah, and I've even had people. So I don't have it right here because it kind of this is a kind of whatever. Like I have a plan, but I have a plan for this, but this is really just a Q&A. So these sessions are these Sunday live streams are really just an anything goes. Not really an ask me anything, but kind of an ask me anything. I'm gonna take this. Sorry, I'm not trying to like throw this in y'all's face, but like a purse, and sometimes even a purse. Pretend the metal is a purse. The straps will fit around the walker. I have a purse that would fit perfectly over a walker, and it wouldn't be used as a purse. It would be used to carry, carry things. You can get creative. And I've found a lot of people get really creative with things. So I was lucky enough to be able to afford the Inogen home and portable while I was still working. Yeah. It's hard enough to get a portable concentrator for patients who could have the house. Yeah, I just insurance is weird in the sense of you're taking, and not that I trust doctors 100% because I've had my own issues, but what I've noticed is a lot of people who make the decisions on what they will or won't approve are not doctors, are not nurses, are not therapists. They are medical coders and billers. They are not, and that, no offense to medical coding, y'all have a job that I really don't want or envy or anything. Every job has its own challenges, but to have a doctor ask for something or a nurse practitioner recommends something, a PA, anybody who's able to provide recommendations, a therapist or therapy assistant, and to have a insurance and someone who is not that same in that same position or has never seen that. You have people making decisions on what they will and won't approve, and like the VA's prosthetics. And Roy, you can probably get along or understand this one. The people in prosthetics who are approving braces, home modifications, things like that, are not therapists, are not like, they are administrative people. They are not practitioners. They have not had hands-on work, direct patient care type of things. That's my biggest problem with insurance. Not only that they're tightwads and they don't want to spend money and they'll always go for the cheapest option. However, they the people making the decisions have never treated a patient in their life. Oncologist is fighting with wife's insurance because she wants to do another CT scan before restarting chemo since she had surgery, and she doesn't want to pay for another CT so soon. From an insurance perspective, and this is where I play devil's advocate, because trying to put myself in someone's shoes, I can totally see that if she wouldn't have had the complication of having surgery. But since she had surgery, that adds a layer of complexity that starting chemo again wouldn't be ideal until the oncologist knows what's going on. And the only way to figure out what's going on is a CT. Can I just say I'm so happy to hear you talking about this and not reading it. You are so knowledgeable. And that's the thing. I don't know everything. I don't I know a little bit. When I say a little bit, I mean a little bit about respiratory because I worked in an ICU and I had to have respiratory's help. I didn't work in an ICU. I floated to the ICU. So the way our hospital works is in therapy. I was assigned to a floor. I got treatments on my floor. However, if there wasn't enough treatments on my floor to make productivity, or somebody was called in sick elsewhere, I had to float and do treatments in any other place. Hopefully you got a floor that was close to your unit, because that hospital was so big that sometimes it took me 5 to 10 minutes to walk from my area of the hospital and my floor to a patient I was treating. However, so in order to make productivity, I had to float places. So I floated to cardiac ICU or CICU, CV ICU, MR ICU. And I was rehab and like neuro. So a lot of these cardiac lines, I worked on a cardiac floor, but I mean, I worked on a post-cath floor. Like my patients were just tired. My patients were tired, weak, and filled with water. So when I worked in cardiac surge was not really my specialty. So when I went down to the CVICU, I needed nursing and I needed respiratory's help. Always make friends with your respiratory therapist and your nursing staffs because they really could help you out not getting all them lines twisted. So I know a little bit just from seeing it and working with them, but I am by no means a respiratory therapist. I am no means an expert in that area. I was able to change my patient's oxygen based on doctor's orders and when we were up and moving. That's the most that I get from respiratory. When a doctor can go up to 6 liters for exertion. So I know that I'm authorized to check their pulse ox, see what they're at, make sure they're above 90 is generally the what I looked for, 90 and above. As long as you got a 90 and above, you got an A in my book. And adjust their oxygen accordingly. However, I'm not just one to go in and mess with someone's oxygen because I know what I'm doing. I made sure I had a doctor's order because it's that whole cover your ass. If something happens to that patient, you can be like, well, I was just following what the doctor said and this happened. So sounds like the medical center of Central Georgia in Macon, where I lived. I worked at the largest hospital in the state of Wisconsin. So I'm not going to tell you what that is, but if anybody who lives in Wisconsin probably knows what it is. You can see that hospital it's the biggest cardiac center in the state, but right now we have East Georgia Regional and it's tiny. Like I drive by it and I'm like, that's it. So I've gotten all sorts of things from Amazon for my walker to make it so helpful. Saddlebag, cup holders, hooks. And I always say, pimp your walker. Like that MTV show from back in the 90s, Pimp My Ride, where they used to add random things to the car. Pimp your walker. Never be ashamed of using something that keeps you safe. And it's kind of one of those things of like, if people make comments out in town, people only know the decisions you made, not the choices you had. If you have to use a walker to prevent you from falling and hitting your head, use a damn walker. You get the most colorful ass roll of duct tape you can, and you pimp that sucker out. I had a lady who had zebra duct tape, zebra and pink. She did like an inch or two of one, then an inch or two of the other, and she was like, my walker is definitely pimped. I pimped my wheelchair. And that's the thing. Like, I know that it can be hard for people to accept that they need to use certain things when you get a certain age or when you're younger and you have issues of pain or anything. Even some people who get injured, like sports injuries, and hate using a wheelchair or crutches, I say pimp it up. You do you as long as you're safe. Pimp your walker. I know, right? It's my merch. Just kidding. It's kind of like my merch idea. So it's just a thing of you never be embarrassed to be safe. We wouldn't give. Here's the thing. We wouldn't tell a child not to wear a helmet just because it might not be the most attractive looking thing. So why would a normal person ever tell an adult that it's embarrassing to use a walker or a cane or anything like that when it's the safest option? Also, kind of leading into a healthcare costs thing, if usually someone's pride or fear of being embarrassed is what causes you to get injured because you don't think you need anything or you're too embarrassed to use something. So you fall and you get injured and now you're in this cycle of the hospital, which kind of is what makes some of our healthcare costs really high is prevention. not just with falling, it's with, diet. Like the biggest issues we have in this country right now are diabetes and heart disease, most of which are preventable with diet and exercise. Not all of it, obviously. People are still, it's still like correlation does not necessarily equal causation, in the sense of you don't have to smoke to get lung cancer, but lung cancer increases smoking increases your risk of lung cancer. So there's things that people could get that might not be, and I'm trying to figure out how to word that. People could still get diabetes, and even though they had a perfect diet, it's not necessarily always the cause, but it definitely increases the cost. And then you think of all the time and effort and all the appointments that people are taking up for diabetes, when and all the money that insurance is paying out for diabetes medications. This is just one example because it's the most obvious. But if you trickle that down to all other aspects of healthcare, how much time, resources, and money are we spending on healthcare that we might not need? It's, hardest thing to figure out is a comfortable way to concealed carry when you're confined to a wheelchair. Surprisingly enough, I've had that question before by a patient, and we figured something out. So Roy, you and I can talk. Yeah, pride literally goes before the fall. It's hard. Through RFA, weight loss, and exercise, I was able to get rid of my walker. Yeah, Mike, I have knee pain right now, but instead of just going and complaining, like, I have pain everywhere, but like I specifically have knee pain. Well, here's the thing about my knee pain. I call it fat people knees. And I joke, it's not really what it's called, but it's basically that my butt and my body weight is too much for my joints to support without a little discomfort. And my chronic pain just makes that worse. But if I lose weight, and today is day 1 of a new diet, so if you see me getting a little cranky, I'm hungry, but I'm trying. With that being said, I don't go to the doctor and waste my nurse practitioners. I have a nurse practitioner, not a doctor. It's the VA. Make it make sense. But I don't go to my nurse practitioner and say I have knee pain. Come see me for knee pain, because I know what causes my knee pain. And it's not that I'm avoiding the doctor. It's just like I know that diet and exercise will fix my knee pain. I will still have discomfort, but there's a difference between discomfort and what I feel. So, I figured it out. I have a CC man purse that has an available chest level. And you know what? Hard to exercise when your left side doesn't work. I can use my hip to walk. Knee doesn't work when I want it to bend. Spinal stenosis limiting my walking standing to 7 minutes. However, you are impressive, because most people they don't know how long they can stand for because they've never tried. So the fact that you know your limits is an impressive thing. Oh, and I got a new tripod for my camera, so look, it won't fall as easily anymore. And this one's adjustable. So we're working on making some upgrades to the channels, because I want to make this as best as I can. Getting back to, before we get going, because I got about 5 minutes left, we're going to try to make these under an hour. That way, one, I know Sundays are family days for a lot of people. Not everybody wants to be sitting on a live stream all day. I don't want to be sitting on a live stream all day. And two, I know how I get with watching long replays, especially when it's something where I'm super interested in a specific thing that might be mentioned. So we're going to try to keep these lives on Sundays to 50 minutes to an hour. Kind of get straight to the point, get the topics, ask questions, and make it easy for replay crew. Because replay crew is generally watching the replay for these to get a specific answer to a possible specific question that might be answered, or to see if a question that they had was answered, so they don't have to go into chat and ask it. Or yeah. And football starts too, and hence why it's Sunday mornings and not Sunday afternoons, because football. But it's locked, so she can't run away. But the last thing I wanted to get to was this other poll. I asked, what kind of videos are you guys most interested in? I had the 3 options that I had are research-based deep dives, exercise demonstrations, and tip videos with a related PDF download. So research deep dives and exercise demonstrations seem to get the 2 that got the most votes. Exercise demos was 50%, research was 33%. And research, I won't be preaching to you. I'll be mentioning it and leaving the links in the descriptions of the videos for you guys to check out if you want more information. I will be highlighting where I got the information from, not necessarily preaching the information. So weight loss is 80% food, 20% exercise. Yeah, I have no problem with the exercise part. I can spend all day in the gym. I love it. Food is my hardest part. But I also had an eating disorder, so there's that. So I will be taking what you guys say in these polls and trying to cater the content to you, because at the end of the day, these videos aren't for me. They're for you. And if I'm doing something that y'all don't want to see, then what's the point? So if I ask y'all questions about what you want to see, there will be a weekly poll of what does everybody want to see? Oh, and Gail here. I have to go into before I go anywhere, I have to do, come on. Oh, look at that. And my what the hell's video showed up in my feed for this channel. Interesting how that works. All right. Switching accounts. I have to make a couple people. I have to do a couple things. And I keep forgetting to do it because this I don't go into this channel very often. Not yet, anyway. What I would like is for this channel to overtake Squid. There we go. Oh, and Tammy. There we go. Uncle Buck made it. Tammy, I need you to type something in the chat. And good night. Get some rest. And one more. There we go. And Roy, you too. There we go. Because Tammy, this is your area of expertise. So this channel, you have a wrench. Because this is one of your areas of expertise. I'm not the only person here who has a background in rehab. So, you know, this is kind of your time to shine, my dear. Me too. All right, guys. I think that's where we're gonna call it a day today. Please, if you have not checked out the community page and those polls, I will be doing a poll once a week. This is fun watching a baby channel. I mean, it's technically a baby channel, but like I'm hoping that I'm taking a different approach with this channel, because over there we get to make fun of people. Like I make fun of Bubbles every week. Like it's what I do. Over here is more of like my professional side. Yeah, we still want to have fun, but this is the place to be a little more, you know, my side. So there will be some resources that we talk about in the video this week. I will be trying to upload it by Wednesday. Usually there will be a Wednesday upload. However, I have recorded a couple videos and I have realized that me trying to read from a script and then talking into a camera, this camera is very, very difficult and makes it really hard for me to watch myself back, and also makes it really difficult to edit because there's a lot of ums and uhs and breaks of me trying to look and not a lot of eye contact. For live streams, it's not bad because I'm looking at different monitors, I'm looking at the chat. But for a video, I've got a couple of things, tricks up my sleeve that I'm going to try to see if they make the filming process better. And I know I will get better over time. However, the filming thing is still, yeah. And hey, photo lady, we'll be doing replay crew. Sorry, I missed it. No worries. And that's why we try to keep it under an hour, is so that replay crew doesn't have to spend all day. You kind of get the information that you need, get the questions answered that you want to answer, and you can move on with your Sunday. Anyway, on that note, guys, y'all have a great day. Thanks for joining me for this intro of ETM. I call that one SPQ and this one ETM. Evidence through motion is my baby. And thanks for joining me as we grow this community and grow this channel together, and make this channel everything that I want it to be. I appreciate you guys so much for hanging out with me, and y'all have a great day. Bye.